Well, Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida has urged big Japanese businesses to boost worker pay this year, stressing that it is extremely important for economic growth. He was speaking at an annual New Year reception hosted by the three biggest Japanese business organizations. It was held despite the resurgence of COVID-19 in the country. Michio Ishida reports.
A gathering of 240 business leaders, though with precautions. COVID-19 remains a big concern in Japan as the country is starting to see signs of a sixth wave of the pandemic following the festive season. As the country struggles to contain the Omicron variant, Prime Minister Fumio Kishida reassured corporate leaders that he is accelerating booster vaccination and will soon supply oral medication for patients. He also said that healthcare workers are preparing for increased hospital beds. But with no end in sight to the pandemic yet, Mr. Kishida also urged big Japanese businesses to boost worker pay this year so as to help the economy rebound. Japan's stock market had kicked off to a good start this year, with the country more or less taking the pandemic in stride. Despite concerns about the disruption of the supply chain and a hike in energy-related prices, Seiji Nakata, president and CEO of Daiwa Securities Group, thinks the trend will continue, and he supports Mr. Kishida's call to raise wages and support his growth strategy of spreading prosperity more widely.
分配もしっかり企業の方も努力しますので、成長戦略、そのためにはやっぱり規制緩和っていうんですか、規制緩和を緩めることなくこの成長戦略っていうものをちゃんとしっかりと両輪としてやっていってもらいたいというふうに思います。
Takeshi Niinami of Century Holdings, who chairs the Government Economy and Fiscal Policy Panel, also seeks deregulation.
The private sector carries a lot of cash in our balance sheets. So our balance sheet should be well utilized so that Japan will be able to create more jobs. And that creates the job mobility eventually. And that leads to the pay hike furthermore. And that is in peril of the productivity of workers in Japan.
Mr. Niinami seeks more investments for innovation, in particular areas dealing with sustainability, and he feels cooperation with Asian countries would be vital for Japan.
We have the very unique situation, which is different than that of in Europe. We don't have the best fit geography for renewables like panels, because we have long rainy seasons, for example. So we, Asia, have to stand up and create the Pan-Asian taxonomy.
Business leaders at the gathering were also upbeat about the Japanese economy in 2022.
Business leaders did give an optimistic economic outlook. After a stalemate this fiscal year, many believe it's likely to grow as the government projects by 3.2% in fiscal year 2022, the strongest among major powers. It's by relying heavily on domestic consumption, which makes up 60% of Japan's GDP.
This is due to the resurgence of COVID-19, which has caused Japan's borders to remain closed. But half of corporate Japan's profits come from overseas, so they will seek to benefit from free trade deals such as the newly launched RCEP and the CPTPP, as well as bilateral frameworks. And they hope the government will keep a balanced relationship with the US and China. Michio Ishida, CNA, Tokyo.